Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carrot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2011 sci-fi western movie titled Cowboys and Aliens. Now, Cowboys and Aliens runs for 1 hour and 58 minutes long. It is directed by Jon Favreau. It is produced by Brian Grazer, Ron Howard, Alex Kurtzman, and Roberto Orci. Okay, the script was done by Roberto Orci, Alex Kurtzman, Damon Lindelof, Mark Fergus, and Hawk Ostby. The story was done by Mark Fergus, Hawk Ostby, and Steve Odekirk. It is based on the novel by Scott Mitchell Rosenberg. The score was done by Harry Gregson Williams. The cinematography by Matthew Libatic. And the editing was done by Dan Lebenthal and Jimmy May. And the stars of the movie are Daniel Craig, that's right, James Bond himself, Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Richard Kimball, Indiana Jones. Yeah, Harrison Ford is in it. We also have Olivia Wilde. We have Sam Rockwell, Adam Beach, Noah Ringer, Clancy Brown, Paul Dano, and Keith Carradine. Now, my friends would say that I wasn't going to like the movie Cowboys and Aliens. But being the curious and somewhat inquisitive-minded individual, I kind of dismissed their words of warnings and just went to watch the film with lowered expectations and going in with an open mind. There is an ensemble of talented performers. It will have scenes that will make you reconsider and observances that come into the mainstream of things. No matter whatever was said about the movie, Cowboys and Aliens and all other excuses pushed aside, the fundamental aspect behind it all is that this genre collage of Western mixed with science fiction and action is that the only excuse I will accept is that plain and simple, there's just one word to describe it. It doesn't work. That's right. As much as I was intrigued by the whole mishmash of Western mixed with science fiction, mixed with action, it just does not seem to come up with any kind of original idea, any kind of remarkable storyline that will give me goosebumps later on. I'm sorry to say, maybe some people liked this movie, and you know what? The more power to them. Good for them. It's always good to have, differences in opinions and all that. And you know what? You're all entitled to it. Don't take my word for it. Go out and see it for yourself if you like it. The more power to you. But I just didn't think it worked very well on many, many levels. And maybe I was having much more higher expectations than I thought, even though I just wanted to come with an open mind. But, in the thick of things, there's just so many contrivances in this movie that it's just at times a bit overwhelming. So even when it works to its potential, it still falls over flat. With its star quality and a huge budget depending on it, this flop is all the more upsetting. It's got more B-movie things going for it, in spite of the fact that, even Steven Spielberg served as an executive producer in this, which I forgot to mention. And, you got legendary director Ron Howard doing, production work for this. So I was like really excited that when these two big giants in Hollywood came up, Ron Howard, Steven Spielberg, I was like, wow, this is gonna blow me away. Unfortunately, it left me in a bad pool of utter disappointment. So, well, let's just talk about the storyline for you. We got Daniel Craig. He stars as Jake Lonergan, and he's not. And I gotta say that this is truly not what I would call one of his best performances. Here he seems to be bloodied, bruised, disheveled, and he's actually sporting some kind of metallic bracelet. And he's practically in the middle of nowhere, and he has no idea of who he is, or how he got here, or where his destination he will proceed to next. All he knows is that he's waking up, he's in the middle of nowhere, he's in the desert, he's got this metallic bracelet that doesn't seem to fit the time period. The setting of this movie was in 1875. He gets into a bit of a conflict with a bunch of outlaws. He kicks the shit out of them. He steals their boots and their cowboy hats. That, by fucking God, I could have sworn he looks a lot like Yul Brynner when he was playing Chris Adams in The Magnificent Seven, or the gunslinger in the original 1973 Westworld. By God, the resemblance was just so uncanny. But okay, so after beating the crap out of these outlaws, he enters into a town called Absolution, which is in New Mexico. And let's just say they're not throwing a welcoming party to him. It appears that this Jake Lonergan is an outlaw himself, scorned from society. He's probably just as much of an outlaw as Billy the Kid or the James Brothers or any other notorious outlaw. Yes. So then he stumbles into a town, and we discover that he is a marked man, and that a rancher who goes by the name of Woodrow Dollarhide, played by Harrison Ford, wants to take him on. Oh, great. We have Indiana Jones versus James Bond here, folks. Okay. As they were ready to duke it out, we get an alien spaceship joins the fray, and that's when the party really starts to get interesting. Now these two rivals will just definitely have to put their differences aside, and they are also joined by bandits. And what do you know? Do you know who also joins the party? That's right. Native Americans also join the party. Yay! Yeah. What kind of rewards are we going to get, huh? We're going to get fucking zilch. That's right. Why should we help them? Well, okay. It's a work of fiction. I know nothing is real. And we just have to use our imagination. Yeah. But what kind of rewards are we going to get? Well, we are definitely, I guess the only thing we're not actually looking for rewards here. We just need to take down this alien race. Now, the thing about these aliens is what I would have liked is if they actually had some level of intellect. I mean, I was hoping that maybe these aliens would speak. a certain language. I mean, they could have made them have some form of intellect. Instead, they seem to be more primitive. You know, they seem to have more animalistic features rather than a superior alien race. So we have heroes, we have bandits, we have Native Americans, and they're trying to take down this alien race. And in the end, it looks like something you would probably see on the Twilight Zone or something you would see on the Outer Limits. Please stand by. You know, things like that. And uh, although the adrenaline is pretty good, the excitement is there, the action is good, but there really there really isn't really much to get the energy level going because there's a lot of plot holes involved and it just simply doesn't work. I mean, it's like I think the main problem here is that when I read the list of the people who wrote the script, I think it just stems from the fact that there's just too many cooks in the kitchen. And if you put too many cooks in the kitchen and you try to put all the ingredients into the pot, all you get is just a bunch of people who don't want to get their feelings hurt. And in the end, it turns out to be just one big mess. And I think that's where the problem is. There was so many revisions, but not enough editing. Maybe that's what it was. Okay. But I guess that's just probably part of the problem. Well, the biggest flaw about Cowboys and Aliens comes from the way that there is too much of a good thing with very little to offer. Sure, we have a strong cast and we've got some great talented performers aside from Daniel Craig, Harrison Ford. We have Sam Rockwell, as I mentioned. He's always very good in a lot of roles. Olivia Wilde. We also have Paul Dano. He's pretty effective in his roles, and many others. And we have a director like Jon Favreau. So this film is definitely in good hands, no question about it. And the budget, well, it's pretty hefty. And so we're likely going to have enough adrenaline for action fans to get excited about. And we have a subject matter that's bold and that's not talked about a lot. And this is all in place to have the makings of a cult classic film. And though the intentions are abrasive in nature, the film loses it by turning in one cliche after another, which distracts its real intentions of remaining what it is intended to be. And to me, I think it was just a big budgeted B movie. That's what it all stems down to. It seems to be something that, you know, if you ever watched the old 90s show called Mystery Science 3000, I'm sure the characters there would have a fun time lampooning and making jokes about a lot of the scenarios. And if Mystery Science Theater 3000 needed an extra seating, by God, I'll be there, and I will take down and dissect this movie bit by bit by bit. I tell you. In spite of its early scenes that definitely pay homage to the Western films of the 1960s, 50s, yeah, and Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood and the spaghetti westerns, and then we have Daniel Craig sporting an eerily resemblance to Yul Brynner. This film starts to fall flat from there. We get a nice, good opening scenes, and then everything just goes kersplat. We get bombarded with a cornucopia of characters and we're forced to be fond of Craig's sucks awkward moment, expecting us to be amused, and only to end up having them meet their fate, and from then on, it just lazily sails into a stream of formulaic moments while concealing its guilt by distracting us with special effects, which were pretty good, but to me it looks like something you would see at a theme park thing, where it looks like you're in some kind of virtual reality world and you're just taking down a bunch of stupid aliens. You could just put on a bracelet and go pew pew pew, things like that. And that's kind of like what you get when you watch this movie. It's like, am I watching a Western? Am I watching a sci-fi? Or am I just watching a video game come to life with no reason or rhyme? That's kind of like the feeling that I get when I watch this movie. And to me, to me, I find that kind of insulting to my intelligence. And the characters are pretty much cliched. So, what do we get out of all of this? Very little to almost nothing. But there are some great moments to Cowboys and Aliens, like first getting to know Jake in the opening scenes, which was kind of cool, and we feel intrigued by the fact that he's an anti-hero, so he's not necessarily wearing a white cowboy hat or a black hat, and he's not some completely evil villain, like twisting the mustache and tying a girl to a railway track. No, he's not that type of an outlaw. He's an outlaw. He's an outcast. He's scorned. But at the same time, we've seen this all before, the whole anti-hero cliche thing. There's really nothing new in this. Yeah, and sure, the set pieces were all too familiar. They still managed to be provocative, though at times illogical. So, underneath all that potential, this movie definitely loses steam very, very quickly and leaves you with an empty feeling of anything but satisfaction. It's a B-movie action film which was made to look big, concealed with all the cliches that the science fiction and the Western films have to offer. Sure, you can see this for the fun of it, and sure, it's fun to watch, but it does not necessarily need, but it's not definitely going to, make your brain all the more smarter, because there's nothing in this movie that actually has any kind of intellectual merit to it. Sure, you can see this for the fun of it, but like many anti-hero films in the Western genre, the plot meanders off with nothing original or anything deemed creative. Which is a shame. I mean, all the talent was there. All the star quality in this movie was just provocative. I mean, I was excited to actually see Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford, take on each other or join forces to bring down an alien race. And yeah, I was excited about this movie when it first came out 7 years ago. Sure, I watch movies for the feeling of escapism. But maybe I'm just getting old and I just would be more intrigued by seeing movies with more intellectual merit to it. But every so often, hey, this old man, he would definitely like to have some fun in his life. But the fun does not have to be synonymous with insulting your intelligence, or let alone bringing your expectations lower than what was expected. I wasn't coming in with high expectations. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, they could have had something a little more insightful to offer instead of just some bogged down action film just to appease to the younger age demographics. I mean, I'll watch anything, but I still prefer something that would actually have something more insightful or inspiring for me to look back upon. This is something Cowboys and Aliens just does not have that. So with that all set in mind, if I was to give this movie a rating out of 10, I'm sorry, but I'm probably going to have to give this one, and maybe I might be being a little too generous, I would have to give this one a 5.5 out of 10. Do I recommend it? If you don't come in with high expectations, then yes. But if you're going to watch something that will... But if you want something that's going to reflect upon you later on, then it's a no. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember, be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Rod Writer saying keep watching those movies, and I will see you around. Goodbye.